Welcome to the July 29, 2016 edition of Colorado Inside Out Postgame, a special web-exclusive production here on Channel 12. With history now behind us with both the Republican and Democratic national conventions, let's get a quick take on the major takeaways. Patty Calhoun from Westward. We had two completely different conventions, and actually different from what we've seen even in years past. What were the big highlights you took away from the differences?
Well, as I said on the show earlier, today's the 101st day before the election, and I felt like I lived through 101 years watching as much as I did of those two conventions. The fascinating thing was how dark the Republican convention was. No optimism, basically no hope except for one man, Donald Trump, the only person who can solve it. Just dark, dark. And then you get to just happiness and light for the DNC coming out of a really dark episode, the leaked email, the Russian hack of the DNC emails, but somehow they managed to pull things out. They got every single person they possibly could up there speaking. Some were great speakers, some were not, but it was an optimistic message. It was a light message. It was morning in America, like back in the 1984 Reagan era. And in fact, they referred to Reagan a lot. So I think they did the Democrats did what they needed to do. They came out looking together, whether or not they are. They came out looking positive, and we'll see how the bounce goes after this convention compared to the RNC.
David Kopel from the Independence Institute and DU Law School. The conventions, I believe, are earlier this year than in other years because of the Olympics, or at least they're scheduled earlier. So there's a longer time for voters to kind of forget. But what do you think of the impression they've at least left in their minds right now? For folks who aren't waking up knowing exactly what they're going to vote for, kind of still on the fence, what's the impression left upon them in July?
Well, the impression I got was the Republicans this year reminded me of the Democrats in 2008, where you have this repugnant climax of Trump's speech, "I alone can fix it," the narcissist's motto. And Obama, 2008, with his phony Greek columns and all this and his personality cult that he created around himself, same problems, where you have this guy with a personality cult that is appealing to certainly a lot of people and creates these messianic expectations which can't be fulfilled. And Hillary Clinton was right in her speech to say, no, you can't do it all at once, and there's no superhuman being who's going to give you these instant results. Because that's how a republic works, because you have divided power and we don't have autocratic rule. But the part of the reason that Bernie and Obama are both, Bernie and Trump are both on the stage is partly the backlash against Obama's failure to fulfill his messianic expectations he built up about himself. And the same thing, if Trump wins, of course he won't be able to fulfill everything where he, over and over, promised about how fast he was going to fix things. But of course he didn't, because nobody could.
Eric Sonderman, political analyst. I'm going to go back to something that you said on the program I thought was excellent. The Republicans put on a reality show. You had drama every night. Ted Cruz doesn't endorse, and then you see Donald Trump come out as if it was, Vince McMahon would have been so proud of that kind of production value. And then you have the DNC come out, and they couldn't have been more scripted if they tried. And they nailed the script. They have former presidents coming out, the great speeches, including everybody. It was as exactly you would want a script to go for a convention. But it's 2016. It's completely bananas out there when you talk about the political atmosphere. Which is going to work better?
You should be around this table, Dominic, not answering the question. You just not asking the questions. You just answered it very well. I don't know which is going to work better. You saw two big contrasts. A big contrast of two conventions. As I put it in a Denver Post column last weekend, the Republican National Convention was as non-conventional, unconventional a convention as you could possibly imagine, for the reasons you outlined in framing the question. The Democrats ran a very conventional convention. As Patty indicated, a lot of the Morning in America mood music and mood tune of the Democratic Convention. The problem was when Ronald Reagan did that back in 1984, it fit the mood of the country. It affirmed the mood of the country. I think when Hillary and the rest of the Democrats are doing it in 2016, it's trying to create a mood that isn't there. It's wishful thinking. But this country, the mood of this country right now, witness Donald Trump, witness Bernie Sanders, witness the upheaval in the streets, witness 101 other things, relatively flat economic growth, is not a morning in America mood. And Hillary Clinton is trying to run in the face of a very tough public mood out there. That is going to be, as we talked on the program, the real dynamic that I think you have to pay attention to over the next 101 days. Donald Trump is an incredibly flawed candidate, but there, we keep wondering, is there a method to the madness here of what he is doing? And has he somehow captured the zeitgeist? Has he somehow captured the moment that people are so angry, so upset, so down with a broken political establishment, and it's hard to argue anything other than it is broken, is it so broken that they're willing to accept that medicine, that particular cure? I don't know. I still color me doubtful. I still think Clinton has most of the advantages. But we never thought we'd be sitting here talking about nominee Donald Trump, who, at least after the RNC convention, had pulled to somewhere between even and slightly better than even in the polls.
Rounding up the panel, Gregory Moore, former editor of the Denver Post. The conventions have a tough job because in both situations you had really divided parties. So they're trying to heal those rifts. Then you also have an opportunity to talk to America. And specifically, I think, hopefully still this is still a truism in politics, that the unaffiliated voters are going to decide the election. The Democrats know who they're going to vote for. Republicans know who they're going to vote for. It's that squishy middle, especially here in Colorado. Looking at that way, how did the conventions do?
I think the conventions did what they're supposed to do. I mean, basically, it's about optics, and you're talking to the choir, really. I mean, you are. First and foremost, you're talking to your base. If you don't get your base out, the election is over. So yeah, I think they did what they're supposed to. The Republicans really talked about fear, that things are out of control. We need law and order. People are, not behaving the way they should. People are taking advantage of America. We are weak. All of that, right? And the Democrats are saying, no, actually we're not. We need to be a part of the world community. If we're going to be influenced and a player in the world, then we have to strengthen our alliances and things of that nature. So it's fear versus optimism, and it really is that. It really is that. I'm not that bothered by the appropriation of Reagan-esque imagery and stuff like that. The Republicans do that with FDR and Kennedy. I mean, they do. So that doesn't really bother me so much. What bothers me the most is just the optics. You look at the Republican convention, and there's hardly any people of color there. That's not the America I see. You look at the Democrats, and maybe they overdid it. Okay, maybe they overdid it, but it was certainly a much more inclusive vision of America. And to me, that's very important. To my children, that's very important. And I think ultimately to Americans, that is going to be important.
That's all the time we have for Colorado Inside Out postgame this week. Leave us a comment and tell us what you think. For everyone here at CPT12.org, I'm Dominic Dezzutti. Thanks for watching.